It's 2024, and there's two things we know for sure. The first is we all should be stretching more. But the second is you're going to be navigating a lot of situations in work life.
How do I get promoted?
Do my coworkers make more than me?
Should I tell my boss his breath smells?
On top of all that, you're still expected to network, get promoted, and draft the funniest Slack that your coworkers have ever seen.
Yeah, Kayla, you still need to work on that. But do not worry, we're here on Per My Last Email to help you deal with it all.
I'm Kayla Lopez, Morning Brew's Director of Consumer Revenue, but I've also been a Director of Content, an Editor, an Equity Research Analyst, and more.
And I'm Kyle Hagee, Morning Brew's Chief of Staff to our COO, and I've worked across nonprofits, government, and startups, and Kayla and I have been coworkers for the past 3 years.
And friends for 2.
Wait, what?
And we've got the hot takes and tactics on how you can navigate tricky work situations.
And clearly we don't always agree.
Oh, that's
Weird
so
flex.
funny. I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Why?
Hard work gatekeeping.
Yes.
You said your brand is respectable cringe.
I'm going to regret saying that.
Yeah, but I see it, like... But you'll walk away feeling better equipped to accelerate your career.
So join us each week on Per My Last Email on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everybody, welcome to Criminality Show, the podcast that we started because we love reality TV and crime. I think I just inadvertently did Ronnie's impression of Greek Angie. Salt Lake City. I started going into, I went into robot mode. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Rebekah. How are you?
I'm good. I guess I'm punchy. I didn't realize it till the mics went up.
Love it. This is great. This is an afternoon recording, so you never know how these will go.
It's true.
Mentally, but yeah, mentally.
No, yeah, that's accurate. It's morning, afternoon, or evening are always a different vibe.
Right.
And yeah, it's a beautiful day here in New York. You guys are recovering, I hope, in Florida from the tumultuous storms last week.
Yeah, we're good. And today the high was 72.
Is
so
that
I'm
comfortable for you?
Yeah, but I don't know. The temperatures don't drop very often. So when I saw it, I thought, oh, I need to get my son a sweatshirt because he's like outgrown everything. I'm like, this is going to be terrible. He's going to freeze. And then I walked out this morning and I was like, oh yeah,
This is very
I really
warm.
just don't know what temperatures are.
That is
under that.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope everyone in Tampa and beyond are doing well.
Yeah.
That was just such a crazy
It was
week
wild.
for you,
Yeah.
most of all. But everybody in the country was watching and listening.
Yeah.
We're back into super crowded TV season. What's popping out for you? Like, what are you watching and enjoying the most?
I feel like OC is still one of it's the top for me for Housewives right at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we had Tamra and her. I can't even talk. I was so angry about that whole her
Statement.
confession to Teddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
and then her apology to go back on it about saying she was on the spectrum. Everybody, not one person was like, no, that sounds right. Everyone was like, you don't get that after a 1 hour visit. You don't, all that stuff. So it's her like setting up a redemption arc, but it failed miserably. And I'm so glad.
It's so inappropriate for her to leverage that. If it were even true, there's a different way to communicate it, and like no one's buying it because, again, for the same reason you mentioned, like that's not something you figure out in 50
an
minutes
hour
with a professional. And like I don't think that's what rings true and like strikes people when watching the show about her behavior. That's not like the thing that comes to mind. Like, oh, well, maybe, this is like a symptom or sign of, no, it's never been what any of us have thought. Not that we're professionals, but it's
if I was
gross. It's just very Tamra.
Mm-hmm. That is true. I don't think the diagnosis would be Tamra-itis or something.
Yeah.
She's just on her own playing field with that.
Yeah.
But what about you? What What housewives are you into right now?
Well, I agree that OC's just been so consistent this season that it's like I look forward to that one probably the most.
Mm-hmm.
Salt Lake City's fine to me this season. Like I really liked last episode, but I will say I'm the second season of the Roni reboot is working for me.
Oh, I haven't even started it yet. I don't know why. I have not connected very much to it.
I get it. They had a rough first season and a rough ending. And I was just like, how's this going to go? And it's going. They have a couple new people, one of which is named Raquel, and I really like her.
Ooh, okay.
And she's like this art collector, model, entrepreneur, but like actually seems legitimate.
Does she know Leo from Love is Blind?
Yeah, I'm sure they run in the same circles. And anyone who's watched Roni will know I'm joking when I say that. They are not the same. Yeah, and then there's Love is Blind, which I can't get enough of. And I think the finale should be on today at the time of this recording, right?
I don't think the wedding ones are on, but like the last 2 episodes before the wedding.
Okay,
I'll take it. Those are on there. Yeah, me too. I don't love that show. I know. Well, I shouldn't say that. It takes me a few days or like a week. I like to get a bunch of them and just torture myself through several hours and, question a lot of things in my life. But then it's a week later and I'm like, I kind of don't care about these people now.
It's very fun during and they're very forgettable once it's over.
So forgettable. So forgettable.
I'm a big fan of the show, but like if you name names from a different season, it will take me 5 minutes to like pinpoint who they are. I did just learn that it's the same producers as Married at First Sight. And I wondered if that changed anything for you. I don't know.
Because Married at First Sight is now a crapshoot too. But I don't know. That one, I don't know. All of these shows, I feel like the first few seasons nailed it. And then it just kind of tapers off because people know the game, right?
Exactly. No, they start trying to like outsmart
they produce themselves.
Yeah.
But it's like mess.
There's a couple unexpected plot twists in this season and it being DC that I think have made for an exciting combo. And it's pretty watchable to me.
No, absolutely. I will be watching this after I finish editing this. Okay. That will be my treat.
Yeah, same here tonight when all my work is done. That's what I'll be doing. And now I'd like to tell a story if that's okay. And unfortunately, well, I was going to say you can't really watch the show that today's story is based on, but you can and you can't, if you know what I mean.
Got it.
Let's just start, shall we?
Clear as mud.
So, Melissa, maybe you could join me in a brief thought experiment. I'm going to give you I don't know if that's the right term for what I'm about to do. It's just, let's see.
Tamara would probably call it that, so don't worry.
Yeah,
she wouldn't know either.
I'll call a press conference after if I make a mistake. I'm going to give you some information and you tell me what you would do, what your thoughts are, etc. Cool?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So picture it's 2002. So think back to yourself at that time, except that you live in the UK. You pick up a newspaper, a print newspaper, and you see an ad that says the following. Want to raise your profile? New reality TV show seeks contestants! ! 1 year, £100,000. June 2002 to June 2023. If you're characterful, resourceful, and energetic, email nrussian@nrussian.freeenterprise.co.uk. What would you do?
I would absolutely call the police because it sounds like a cult or somebody's going to kill you. That there's nothing in that would be appealing to me. I would right away be terrified and not interested. Although 2001, hold on, I turned 18 in 2001. Nobody do the math on that. And I wanted to skydive for my birthday.
That's shocking.
I know. I just felt like at that time, I didn't care what happened in my life. So now that I'm thinking about it's kind of depressing. So there is a chance that would have been the next year. I was still in a bit of a funk. I could have looked into this.
So did you skydive?
Yeah, absolutely.
You did?
Skydive. Yeah.
Have you ever told me this?
I don't think so. Nobody believes. But
I almost don't believe you, but I know you don't lie, so I do. Yeah. But this is giving me cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I look straight up depressed in the video. I'll have to see if I can get it off of VHS.
Did you go solo?
Well, I went with my cousin went at the time, or he's still my cousin, but he went, and then my mom's friend owned a skydiving place. So like I knew the person I was going with.
Okay.
And he hadn't died yet, so I figured now's the time.
Yeah.
Like 2 months later, somebody did die with him that like fell out of the sky, and they found him near my house.
Stop.
Yeah, it was like less than a mile away. We were looking in the woods for him. I may have to edit this whole thing.
So impressed that you did it. I would never.
I would never bungee jump, but I would skydive.
I would never
wouldn't do
bungee
it
jump.
again.
I would never skydive. I would have answered this email.
Oh my gosh, Rebekah. That
No.
sounds so much scarier.
Come on. So it was actually in a newspaper called, I think it was called Stage. And I'm guessing it was a lot like the newspaper Backstage. I don't know if you ever got those, but they
I
were
don't
like,
think so.
I think they were very New York and LA centric. And they were all like listings for acting jobs, extra work, indie films, commercials, whatever. And they all were filled with ads like this. Yeah, I think I would have been picking up that kind of paper. And I think I would have been like, characterful, sure. Resourceful, energetic.
Yeah.
Let me shoot N. Russian an email. So we learned that N. Russian was Nik Russian. He was a charismatic, maybe another way of saying characterful, 24-year-old, and the man behind this new show and creator of Nikita Russian Productions, Nikita being his full name, Nikita Russian. Now, you may not have replied to that call, and unfortunately, I didn't see it. I wasn't in the UK, so I didn't either, but hundreds of people around the UK did.
Whoa.
Now, this was the early days of reality TV. And you know, we talk a lot about how shows we enjoy first had their round in England or in Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, just like here, reality TV was huge in 2002. The biggest shows were Big Brother and Pop Idol. And simultaneously here in the US at the same time, people were enjoying Survivor, American Idol, and the Osbournes. After sending in self-taped auditions and in-person interviews at Nik's production office, 30 contestants were selected to be on this show, and they were then divided into 3 teams of 10 and sent a map and a date on when and where to meet. So literally, you know, a map comes in the mail with a red
Right.
circle, and it's like a public park, and they're like, come here at this time and place. And so
And are you still on board at this time? Would you still be on board?
if I had gotten to that point, yeah, I would have shown up to see what it was all about. Public park, I mean, it's not sounding glamorous, but it's also sounding safe. It was daytime.
Okay, fine. I'll give you that.
Okay, thanks. I mean, you said how old you were in 2002. Did you say 18?
It was
I wasn't-
18 in 2001.
I wasn't much older. I was old enough to know better, but I still would have. I'm still young. Couple of interesting things to note. 2 of the contestants show up to this day and time in the park, and they were tapped to also be part of the production crew, which is not traditionally how things work on television. So this guy, Tim, who was a professional clown, happened to own his own video camera, which was enough for this production. And they said, would you like to be a camera guy? And he was like, absolutely. And Lucy was an aspiring TV presenter, which is what they call hosts.
Ooh, okay.
And so they said, hey, you could co-host the show alongside the show creator, Nik Russian. And she was like, amazing. So now we have 2 of the 30 contestants also like working kind of for and with the show.
Right.
So on this May Day in various public parks across London, these 30 people convened to find out what in the world the show is all about. All they knew to this point that it was a 1-year commitment, which required that everyone abandon their job, their
Oh
home,
my gosh.
or any other ties where someone might expect you in 52 weeks, which I guess would include relationships.
Right.
They couldn't bring their wallet or any money, just a backpack of personal kind of survival-like belongings and their passport. This is actually when I might have been nervous.
I would have been afraid like my organs were about to be harvested or something, right?
Yeah. No, it's sketchy for days. So there's this $100,000 or pounds prize at the end of it. And the energy is high at this point. The contestants are hopeful and curious and nervous and excited. Some of them are there for the money because that's a lot more than many of them could earn in a year. And in today's money, it was like $200,000 £30,000 or something. So, it's like a nice amount of money. And others were there for the pathway to fame or a career pivot to the entertainment industry, like so many people use reality TV for, right? So everyone's in good spirits, but there are some signs that something is amiss. For one, there is no crew, no cameras except for our professional clown, Tim, who's also a contestant.
Right.
And nobody is there to give them any information except this co-presenter, Lucy, who's also a contestant, and she's not been filled in on anything more than the other contestants, and she's on a team, so she can't be in 3 places at once.
Right.
Nor can the cameraman.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Finally, the show creator, Nik Russian, his director that he had selected to work on this, David Wilder, and the lead cameraman, okay, we have a real cameraman now.
Okay.
This guy was also Nick's childhood best friend, Michael, arrive. Okay, now we're thinking this is a legit production.
Sure.
This is when the 3 teams learn that the show's working title is MS2, which, what is MS2? And
What was
we don't
MS1?
I don't know. It sounds very army-ish and scary. They're about to find out exactly what they signed up for. And so will everybody after a quick break from this week's sponsor. You know that feeling when you find change in your couch cushion, or even better, a balled up dollar bill in your pocket when it comes out of the dryer? Well, imagine that feeling, but better, when you start investing using Acorns. It's so easy to do. Even Melissa and I can do it. And you can believe me when I say that because we have both been happy Acorns investors even before they came on as a sponsor. Acorns makes it easy to start automatically saving and investing for your future. We love that you don't need a lot of capital to start. In fact, that spare change in the couch I mentioned, you could just use that. I chose to round up all my debit and credit card purchases to the nearest dollar, and Acorns takes that money and puts it aside for me to invest. I don't even feel it. But when I check the Acorns app, there's a little pile of money that's been invested for me. It's so easy and such a great way to begin investing that isn't intimidating or prohibitively expensive. If you'd like to start investing with Acorns, head to acorns.com/criminality or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. Client testimonial. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/criminality.
In the most recent episode of Killer Psyche, they're going to take you inside the mind of a once-in-a-generation serial killer while the case is still unfolding. Rex Heuermann of the Gigolo Beach murders is awaiting trial for the murder of at least 3 women, with many more suspected victims still being linked to him. Now, a recently released tell-all bail application goes into unusual detail and links to keep him locked away, revealing shocking updates about the case and insight into murderous pathology. Listen as there is a deep dive done into the charges against Heuermann and new evidence, which brings insight into what we already know about the case and also what motivated him. Follow Killer Psyche on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcast. You can listen to Killer Psyche early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
If you guys are wondering what the heck is going on, imagine how the 30 people who abandoned their lives for this mystery show are feeling. Let's just go to the first clip to hear the reveal.
I didn't know what the show was about. I was waiting for Nik to brief me. And when he asked me to present the idea of the show to the contestants, I remember saying to him, "Can you tell me first?" And he just had to quickly tell me really quickly. And then literally a minute later, I was talking to everybody and telling them what the goal was. Okay, what is their challenge? Their challenge is to basically make £1 million. Simple as that. They have empty pockets. They are starting completely from scratch. And they can do anything they want. They can make this money any way they choose.
Wild. Absolutely wild. And I love that she's saying they as if she's not part of they.
Well, she's literally going on. There's no script. She's improvising. She actually did pretty
great.
well,
She did
right?
great.
Like,
Yes.
she's like, easy as that. Like, kind of trying to make it sound like a legit TV show. She's like making something out of literally nothing.
I think she did great.
She did do great. Let's just break down this math a little bit. So everyone's told initially there's this £100,000 prize. Now they're being told they have a year to make $1 million as a team, which means they'll each come away with the £100,000. But the ask, they're earning their prize money,
Right.
essentially.
Right.
And none of the expenses are covered, which you don't hear in this clip, but there's no housing.
Okay.
There's no 3 meals a day.
Oh my God.
So in addition to figuring out how we're going to make $1 million in any way you choose, and she never said it has to be legal, so I don't know where that factors in.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no internet the way it is now. Like,
Right.
What?
What in the what? I don't understand.
The what? I would have left. I hope everybody feels like they can still be my friend, listener, or colleague because
Yeah.
I really would have left at this point. And so
Okay,
did
good.
many, many people. One team fully disbands. They're all just like, we're out. And they're like, some of them are saying, I think my job will take me back if I leave now. Like, oh, maybe my apartment hasn't been subletted. So they go.
Imagine.
Right? So there's 2 teams now. And we're going to follow, in today's story, 2 teams to find out which one wins. Now, also, we're in London, so it starts raining, of course, shortly after this clip that you just heard. And the teams have learned what the premise is, but no one has anywhere to go. They have given up their homes, and there is no housing or studio or set. So cameraman Nik, our professional clown, is like, well, guys, I actually live in London. You guys can come to my flat.
So he still has a flat. Thank goodness.
Yeah, because he's local. Exactly. I don't know how he loophole. So they meet there to strategize. So he just keeps the tape rolling and he films everybody, brings all 9 into his very small apartment, and they start discussing their plans. Team 2 also has someone from London, and unfortunately, she'd given up her apartment for the experiment, but she does have the next best thing. A friend who lives in the city who agrees to let 10 people, 9 of whom are strangers, into her flat to get their bearings and make a plan. So we have Team 1, cameraman Nik, professional clown's apartment. Team 2 at a friend of one of the contestants' apartments. Now it's important to note, at the park they were all given a contract, dozens of pages long, in which the contestants later read, and they said, this seems more like if I were older reading this, I would not have signed it. They were selling their souls.
Right.
It was not a standard contract. I just want it to be noted that they did agree to whatever came next.
Right.
Meanwhile, while the contestants were plotting and planning how they would feed themselves, show creator Nik Russian and his director David and cameraman Mike were working on promo materials. If you would like to go to second clip.
If only I had the money. Money is the biggest obstacle on the way to personal freedom. If you can sort that one out, you are laughing. To that end, I found 30 people nuts enough to do something seriously bizarre. We're going to take money on at its own game. And we're going to win. What if somebody could offer you a way out of that? It's not the 9-to-5 thing. That's not viable at all. It's not even that secure. It's a drip feed. No, the way out is to get in, make as much cash as you can, as fast as you can.
Thoughts?
I mean, basically, I feel like an MLM would be a better idea because this is like, you don't have anything. You don't have seed money. You have nothing. And you're starting and you're at the bottom of the pyramid. But the idea is just make your own money, but now you're homeless.
It's not even a game show premise. It's kind of like a who wants to be an entrepreneur in like the worst circumstances ever.
Right.
It's really weird. And also, he's hellbent on making a show that he clearly doesn't have marketing materials for because he's making it simultaneous to the show beginning that's only being captured by one dude who's a participant. It's so not well thought out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's thinking I can package this little sizzle reel up and sell it while I'm kind of collecting the footage. So this is when we, as the viewer, start to understand, or the listeners, that he was putting the cart before the horse to put it lightly, I guess.
Yeah. The horse hasn't even been born yet. The horse is not even a twinkle in its mother horse's eye.
Correct. And 30 people are pulling the cart, waiting for the horse. It's
Yeah.
like, So he assures all the participants that Channel 4, which I guess was the big primetime network, was super interested. So they all thought this was like a lot further along than it was. They thought it was more of a done deal. Now, if Nik is enlisting his own cameraman to film this monologue, that means that there's just our clown Tim filming his team, and who knows what's happening with the other. However, someone must have had some kind of recording device in some capacity, because at Team 2, we learned something really important, essentially that the contestants have been completely conned. We're going to quickly go into that third clip. Very clip heavy in the beginning.
I love it.
We have to sit down and make some decisions on what we're going to do.
She was like, Keza, what's going on? And I said, this is the contract, Nikki. It's like 10 pages long, and she looked at it and she went, what's NRP? And I said, oh, that's Nik Russian Productions. That's the guy, Nik Russian. And she was like, Nik Russian? She said, I know Nik Russian.
We work together. They're weird. But he only works part-time, and then Kat's just finished.
He works at Waterstone. What, Nik Russian, yeah?
Yeah. Russian. How weird is that? How weird is that?
I was like, you what? She said, he works with me at Waterstones in Piccadilly. I was like, you're having a laugh. You what? And I'm thinking, there's got to be candid cameras. There's got to be cameras hidden in her house or something. This is just bonkers now.
No, there's not hidden cameras. You accidentally have your own hidden cameraman. Yeah, that's so wild. That connection is crazy, too.
I mean, what are the chances? Like,
that's crazy.
I mean, Nick's not much of a planner, but he never could have predicted this if he had tried.
No.
I love just like that he works at Waterstones, which I looked into. It's very comparable to Barnes & Noble. In fact, I believe they have the same owning, like the larger company owns
Umbrella.
both. So it's just, yes, it's like a large chain retailer, and he's a part-time employee who works in the biography section. So that's when Team 2 hunts down Nik Russian and tells him, we know you work at Waterstones and you have some splaining to do. And Nick's like, I can have the promo video done by end of day tomorrow, and I'll have my people, quote unquote, push it really hard to sell.
Were they then wondering who was going to be the publicist out of the group?
Yes. They're like, who are the people? Are we the people? So one bold contestant asks, well, what if you don't sell it? And there was just silence.
Oh.
Too long of a silence. And Team 2 says, forget this. We're out. Before leaving, they figured out a way to let Team 1 know. Ooh. I think a couple people had cell phones. I don't doubt someone, snuck one in, and they let them know that this dude's a con man and he works at Waterstones.
Whoa.
But Team 1 took a different approach. They did not quit upon hearing this information. They decided they're not going to be humiliated. And if they are, they're not going to do it without dragging Nik along with them. So they start calling radio stations, newspapers, TV stations, anyone they know who can get them to the media to tell them what has happened. So they're at Tim's apartment still when this is happening. And at this point, they're, Tim's rolling the camera, they're drinking, they're smoking, and they're like trauma bonding. And it's kind of getting like the energy back to that first day. We're like a few days in now, and they're like, kind of like, what is going on? And they're kind of fueled by this new mystery. And they want to make something of this mess. So then the doorbell rings, and it has one of those apartment buzzer things. And Tim has to go to the front door area to let the person in. He comes back and he's like, guys, it's Nik. Nik Russian has arrived because he has nowhere to go. It turns out that the director found out just how little of a plan Nik had and couldn't continue, but not for lack of trying. David even suggested, could we scale down the vision a little, make something more doable, a shorter pitch, maybe put production with these people on hold and just film, what we have with you and get the concept sold and maybe get a commission before resuming. And Nik said, no, it's all or nothing. And the director said, well, it's going to be nothing, mate. I left. Couldn't help myself. Shortly after, the producer, also known as his childhood best friend, had to bow out too. He's like, there's nothing for me to do. There's too many questions, too many challenges, and not enough guarantees.
Would you call it the concept of a plan?
Yes, I would. I would indeed. So, like all these other people, Nik also has nowhere to go. So he spends the night, and it's awkward to say the least. They're all in sleeping bags on the floor together. And early the next morning, they wake up and Nik has bounced, and they're mad. They wanted to ask questions. They had a million questions, but they resume their media blitz and they get in touch with the news team at London Tonight, which is kind of like a big primetime evening news show, which would be seen across the country. And the crew is like, we'll be there tomorrow at 9 to interview you guys. And luckily for Team 1, Nik comes back because, again, the weather was crap and he had nowhere to go.
Oh, my gosh.
But the team's like, we're not letting him go this time. But they don't tell him the news crew was coming the next day. So they basically set up like a low-key hostage situation. They put him in a room and they're like, you're not leaving until we get some answers. Tim picks the camera up again and they don't exactly interrogate him, which is what I would expect to see from people who wanted to be on a reality show. They actually, it's heartwarming. I'm going to let you guys listen to a clip. They just start sharing what they gave up to be there and what their hopes and dreams are.
I intended to start this part of my career and start my life.
I don't want to hear about you. This was my dream too. I don't care if this was your dream because right about now, it's not about you.
He was saying things like, this is my dream. I didn't really choose to be in your dream. I wanted to be in my dream. Without any cameraman or the cameraman that you need and all the equipment and everything, you do not have a show.
They're being so kind, really, by comparison. But how bold is it to be like, guys, I had a dream. It's just a dream. I don't have anywhere to sleep tonight. If you guys could make sure I could come back here, we're best friends. What?
I know, but he can't look anyone in the eye either. I mean, he's still willing to like kind of advocate for himself, but not by looking at anyone.
No, good call. I don't think that would have helped things if he was able to stare them directly in the eye.
Right. Safe to say this gentle confrontation ends when London Tonight news crew shows up and they barge right in, and all of a sudden now there's a crew. There's cameras, there's lights, there's sound guys, and they actually produce the scene to look worse than it is. They're like, could you guys get back in your sleeping bags? Could you mess your hair up a little and like hold up your passports and look sad? So they create this like scene of complete chaos and disorder. And they interview Nik too, the news camera, and he, makes his excuses and he says he still believes in the project. And when the crew leaves, Nik decides it's probably time for him to find a new place to stay as well. But not before asking Tim, our lovable clown and cameraman, could I have that footage to put in the pilot? To which our lovely Tim says, absolutely not. So then what happens? Well, the last 10 men and women standing had to go back to their lives and jobs and find jobs.
Right.
Restart their lives. And Nik Russian pretty much goes dark after news programs across the country air the story. All of them, the 10 contestants and Nik Russian, were very recognizable in the shops and pubs, on the bus. They all found the fame they were looking for, but not in the way any of them had hoped or imagined. So if you're wondering, what was the motive for Nik? Like, other than he obviously wanted to make a show, but he didn't make money off this scam. Like, what happened? It's kind of unclear, but it feels like a good time to tell everyone that Nik Russian is not the real aspiring producer's name. Or it is legally his name, but he changed it a few times. He was born Keith Anthony Gillard or Gillard.
I mean, he doesn't use it anymore, so it doesn't matter.
True. Thank you. Then he changed it in his early 20s because he had some traumatic events happen in his teenage years that he didn't want to disclose. So he changed it to Jack Lister. Then once again, when he decided to go into show business, he changed it to Nikita Russian, going by Nik. Now, following this debacle, Nik was more recognized than even the contestants everywhere. And it wasn't good. He was actually quite hated. And people were very cruel to him in public. So he wasn't charged with anything because they really didn't have a case. He didn't take money. The contestants signed that contract. There wasn't a lot of recourse, though many of the contestants looked into things. They didn't really have anything they could do. He was feeling so stressed by the negative attention. He went totally dark for a while and nobody could find him. And people truly did wonder, where did Nik Russian go? Well, he resurfaces 23 years later with a fourth name. He now is a poet and goes by the name N. Quentin Woolf. And the unique thing that I can now let everybody in on is that I learned about this because the show obviously never happened. So I guess it's a bit of a loophole. This was a reality show that never was. And that is the name of the show that I watched on Amazon Prime, this 3-part docuseries called The Greatest Show That Never Was. So the concept of the show was 3 episodes reuniting these 10 key people on that team who actually have a ton of footage because of the clown. And they also, this documentary got N. Quentin Woolf, aka Nik Russian, to speak on the record for the first time. Does this show sound familiar to you?
It sounds extremely familiar to me.
And our listeners are probably going, I think Melissa watched that show and mentioned it in the What Are You Watching segment not so many months ago.
So I figured this out literally 1 minute before we started recording and I saw your clips. I was like, why is this so familiar? But I just looked at our website. It wasn't like one, I think I said, don't watch it. I said, this is one thing I'm watching, don't watch, because it's not on our list, but I know I shared it. So
wait,
you're off
so
the
do you
hook.
think it wasn't an official pick?
It wasn't an official pick. It was a,
I feel so much
don't
better.
watch it. Yeah. I think it was one of those times when I was on 2 things and just shared one, but I for sure shared it.
Yeah. So you wouldn't recommend it?
No. Mm-mm.
You,
well, I don't know if it was that. Maybe I just recommended the other thing more, or who knows. I think it's good. It's interesting, but I think it could have been less than 3 parts.
I agree. 2 parts would have been fine. I think I don't want to spoil the entire series, but if you are curious about his backstory and why he did this, I mean, you will not come away with a clear answer, but basically he was a dreamer and a schemer, 2 words I use about myself a lot, who let his imagination kind of get away from him. He believed in himself. He bet on himself and he shouldn't have. I don't think his motives were actually to harm people. And he does seem to recognize the gravity of it now because we do meet him on the show 23 years later. Actually, there is one final clip if people would like to hear in his own words as he reflects back.
So you're after a list of liabilities, is there a list of culpabilities? Maybe by withholding what the nature of the show was, I'd allowed them to fill it in with what they wanted it to be. Of course, with the benefit of hindsight, the advert was absolutely inappropriate. It was really just shorthand for this is the outcome. It wasn't meant to imply that there was a prize fund there.
I would definitely think there was a prize fund there, and that would have been why I would have signed up for it.
Yeah, he downplays the misleading nature of that flyer, which they show in the clip, and it's like big bold numbers, like 100,000 pounds. What is your real takeaway on him? Like, do you think this is a forgivable mishap, or is this like a terrible con?
Terrible. I feel like he didn't have any background in any of this. It's not like he's sold shows before,
right?
And he's got these connections and stuff. He literally was like, I have an idea for a show, but to bring other people, especially to give a commitment from a year, like how dare you? Because that's somebody's life. That's like what, 10%, 7%? I don't know percentages. 1%, 5% of your life? I don't know. But it can be like a big portion, and these people had nothing.
Right.
Had nothing.
Right.
I mean, I was flabbergasted the other day when I heard something about Big Brother, and they said, they've been in there for 3 months now.
Oh my gosh.
And saying like, they don't even know that there was like a presidential assassination attempt. Like that's how far back it is. And I'm thinking like 3 months is so much time. And he was trying to make them do it for a year. I mean, that's unreal.
Yeah, an unfair expectation. Even if he had a budget and this was a real show, that would have never been greenlit. Like, that is not how a reality competition goes. It's just like, yeah, I mean, give these people a year, and I don't know, on their own they could try to go make $100,000. I don't know where the show factors in. But what do you think the culpability of these adults who said yes to it? Like, that's where I'm like, well, whose fault is it if they all, like, they're not dumb people. They, had their reasons.
It's them because if you think of it like it's a shortcut to get to 100,000 pounds or whatever, like there are ways they could do this all on their own where they're at, but this is a way to get to their, to get there sooner. So
yeah,
you're taking a risk.
Yeah.
But I bet they all read contracts now.
I bet they sure do. And I bet now they would probably actually maybe agree to it because there's like OnlyFans and all these like faster ways to make money quickly. If you had no other responsibilities, maybe you could do it.
I really think the doc it's good. It's interesting. It's done a little different than other things.
Yeah. It's a choice.
Weird,
stylistically.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is wild to see the actual footage of them figuring out what's going on and then coming up with a game plan. And I forgot basically everything about this.
Good.
Especially him having to come back to
so humbling.
The like,
yeah.
I mean, you really have nothing else if that's what you're going to do. I mean,
I know.
They could have set him on fire. They could have done anything. It's wild.
I think if this had happened in America, there would have been violence.
100%.
They were let's interrogate him. And they're like, you've toyed with our dreams. I'm like, I know. Wow, that was nice.
I'm surprised they didn't turn the camera away. That's what they would
I know. He does also say in the 3rd episode that he was homeless for a bit after this. Like, he'd given up everything too. And he did have a period of sleeping on the streets. And he turned to alcohol and had a major drinking problem, which he recovered from and is in recovery, thankfully. I do think the weight of it fell on him as well. I don't think it was a blip. I think it really impacted his life, which to me is like punishment enough, Yeah. Yeah.
It's
a weird
all
one.
Adults. They all signed up. Like you knew you were giving up a year of your life. You also didn't, were they guaranteed that money? I don't
know.
So it was like, but I mean, it wasn't like, was it the winner gets 100,000 pounds or was it
the winning
if you
team?
Last? Got it. Okay. So yeah, it was still a risk.
Yeah. And there were stipulations in the contract that I forgot all of them, but some of them were like, it was very much all or nothing. Like when that first team disbanded, you had to decide together. Like, I think if one person wanted to leave and not everyone did, like the team was out. You had to all be in there. So a million variables and extra difficulties to actually get the prize money that you yourself are earning on top of like finding ways to eat. There's scenes where they had to like ask, not bodega, like farmers market stands for produce, like just begging basically. And it was upsetting.
Yeah. Very, very strange.
But yeah, if anybody wants to watch it, it's The Greatest Show That Never Was on Amazon Prime. And I know this was a bit of a departure for reality TV.
It's
but
great.
I just thought it was such a fascinating story that I had to go deeper into it. So
for sure.
We'll put it in the show notes if you want to watch. You've been teasing me with what you've been watching. Tell me or give me clues.
I mean, technically it's only been out for a day, so I only teased you yesterday with this.
Fair.
Okay. So this is unreal. Okay, ready?
What?
I know. I had not heard of this. That's probably the unreal part because I feel
You've
like
heard
I'm
of everything.
Up to date. Yeah, I know.
You are.
I was kind of embarrassed. Peacock documentary.
I canceled Peacock a while ago.
Okay. Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, is it something with Shonda Rhimes?
It's not. It's called Anatomy of Lies. It's about this writer on Grey's Anatomy. She was on for several years. She wrote some of like the most important episodes of Grey's Anatomy. She got the job basically. She was trying to work with them. She wasn't picked as a writer. Eventually, she says she has this cancer. So it's very Scamanda. She doesn't actually have the cancer. She gets hired. But basically, and they say this at the end, she's like a trauma vampire. Where she basically, if you told me a terrible story about your life and I would, show that I'm caring and worried for you and stuff and asking questions, but I would take that information and I would turn it into an episode of Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, gross.
It goes to a level that you would not believe.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Do I need to get Peacock back for a month?
I'll give you my login.
Okay.
It just goes to this area where you just, there's she ends up getting married to this one woman who I feel terrible for, but what happens with that and like how she gets with this lady and their kids are involved. It's just awful. And she basically is just like, I'm addicted to lying.
What? So she's aware and can speak about it?
Now she does. She like also was like, I mean, there's clips of her on different news cycles and saying, this happened to me, this director, like a Me Too thing that never happened.
Oh my gosh.
That kind of stuff and like they just kept going to her and she was always missing work because she was sick and they didn't mind because, whatever. And one part they said at this point on Grey's Anatomy, if you wrote an episode, you would make like $40,000, right? If you were the writer. And then residuals as it's for whatever. So sometimes she would like not be able to write the episode because she's so ill. So these other people would, but she would get the credit and she would make the money for it. Like terrible. Took one of her co-writers like life stories and made it into an episode that was huge that she had not shared with anyone. Crazy.
Was there legal recourse against her from the show? Was she fired? Did they sue her?
She left.
Okay.
She said she left for her health and mental well-being.
But not cancer.
No. But I think...
Oh my gosh.
I'm trying to remember if I'm just forgetting or if I'm remembering this wrong, but I think Shonda Rhimes looked into being able to sue her or something and there wasn't. I don't know. Or I'm just confusing it with the story you just told that they couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But it's
that
unreal.
I mean, it's not audacity. It's like, what is it that someone has to do that?
She claimed, well, I think I took a screenshot of these things. Like she claimed so many wild things. Like when there was a shooting at a synagogue, she claimed that she was there and it was one of her friends that were there and died and she helped clean up brain matter. I mean, that's very graphic, but that's what she said. And then somebody is able to look at her tweets and see, actually, on that day that she says this, she was actually at a Halloween party. Like, diabolical and not a very good liar. I mean, she was and she wasn't, but just unreal. For decades, she was doing this.
And it's like she can't help it. It's like an Anna Delvey thing or the Scamanda thing. And, Anna Delvey was just on Dancing with the Stars, looking beautiful, by the way, and like so happy in all the pictures. And now she's coming out and saying what an abusive work environment it was and like trying, I don't know. And maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Allegedly. I have no idea. I guess it's just like she can't help but like, I don't know if she's concocting a story, but to be in the spotlight, either for negative or positive reasons, it's like she has to be. That's upsetting. I will say, I mean, I would assume all writers draw from experiences they hear about with friends and family, but there's a very big difference between taking like the worst thing that someone's gone through, not telling them and like using it for like a national broadcast show.
Yeah. I mean, like some stuff would happen to her wife and she claimed it was her brother. So she would write to, people and say, this happened with my brother, but it was actually her wife's ex-husband or something, whatever. It's just, it's wild. And yeah. So it's like Scamanda, but there's like a whole other thing because she has like power and she's like an executive producer and her wife was even a nurse, which is even crazier, which she was like, how did I not realize this?
Oh my gosh. And how did they get her to agree to speak?
Oh, she did not speak.
Oh, she didn't. Okay. So
there's
sorry.
like,
I was like, why would she do that? This sounds really good. Is it like episodes?
Yeah, 3 episodes.
Oh, okay. I got to get Peacock for a minute. That sounds up my alley.
Yeah, especially if you like Grey's Anatomy. I didn't watch Grey's Anatomy, or I watched the first season because I didn't have channels when I moved.
Yeah. I definitely watched early seasons. My daughter loves Grey's Anatomy, and I think it actually, I mean, she is studying to be a doctor.
Sure.
So I think she's figured out by now that that's not a real accurate portrayal. I think she knows enough now, but she loves it.
Yeah, she might be interested in it then.
Yeah, I think she would be. That
unreal.
Maybe Thanksgiving we'll watch it when she's home.
There you go.
That's a good one.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I think you're going to know because I think I told you I watched it, but it's the only thing other than like Housewives and Love is Blind that I watched in the last week. So Netflix, comedy, divorce.
Yay, Ali Wong. I can't remember what it's called.
It's called Single Lady. It's her new hour special, and it's crass. She's not polite. She doesn't look for soft ways of saying certain things. And that's why she is so great a lot of the time. I think it's some of her best work. I think it's really, really good.
Oh, good.
She's a couple years divorced in it and just talks about what it's like to be early 40s, back out, trying to meet people. But then you remember that she's beautiful and famous. So people find her through her agent. And she is on the exclusive dating app that she doesn't mention, but it's definitely Raya. So like she has no problem finding people, but she's still, it's just so good. And one of my favorite parts was when she was talking about a guy she was dating, and he's like, well, why didn't she's expressing, she basically breaks up with him for doing something really small. And he's like, why didn't you just communicate that to me? And she's like, communicate? She's like, that is some married people SHIT. Yeah. And she's like, I got divorced so that I don't have to communicate. And I thought, that's great. And I really enjoyed that. And I guess it's just as good a time as any to say I'm going through a similar experience, because I've been on a podcast lately where I shared it. So that's just going to be a new reality in my life, is that I am a divorced person or about to be. Right. So laughing about it was incredibly cathartic. And nice to remember I'm not the only woman in this age group who is going through this.
Yeah, it seems like mostly women in this age group are going through it.
That's actually another thing she says to younger women, that she's like, 40 is the best age. Don't let anyone tell you any different. She's like, to get divorced. So anyway.
She's so funny, and I'm glad you liked that, because I saw a clip and I was like, oh, I have to send this to you. This is I think it was that clip actually that
yes,
like,
I think it
perfect
was.
Age.
It's
that
good.
was great. And then go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just was going to say, I don't think you have to be going through this to enjoy it. It's just a great comedy special.
Yeah.
So
she's just so funny. And then to see like various specials, I remember the one when she was pregnant, like I don't know, you kind of grow
life
with
stages.
her and like,
Amy Schumer's too. You really see her whole life on her stage, like from single, dating, married, pregnant, mom, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Eliza Schlesinger's another too. We're comics who kind of reveal a lot about their lives. And I'm sure you know who she's dating now.
Bill Hader.
Yeah. I kind of think they're cute.
They're adorable.
And they look great together.
I read something that was like, even the people he's broken up with, like has, broken up with, they've all only said good things about him, which I think says a lot.
That tracks too. Like, doesn't he? I mean, you never know, but he really strikes me as a good dude.
Yeah. I refuse to say that about any man anymore, because I feel like we would have to go back and just edit all of our episodes. No. Ashton Kutcher, I think you are, trash. I think there's more. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know the whole Diddy situation is basically everyone's on the blacklist now. Like, it's no one safe. It's No, you're wise to do that, and I'm starting to think
now's a good time for you to start doing that. I think so. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah.
Would you like to know what our next episode is going to be about?
What if I was like, nah?
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely, I do.
Okay. So here, I'm very excited about this when I realized that I could do this one.
Okay.
Semi-truck, fear, SNL.
I don't know, but I like all three clues. So.
Yeah. Well,
wait, say them again. SNL, semi-truck, and what's the other one?
Fear.
Fear. Mm. Oh, wait, Sandra Bullock? No, that was a bus. No. Okay. Well, I'll just have to keep guessing for 2 more weeks. I can't wait.
There you go. That sounds great. Rebekah, in the meantime, people can find you on your other podcast that's dropping new episodes every week.
Yes. Yeah.
That's my intro to you to describe
fun one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I think particularly criminality listeners will like. Our second episode guest was Morgan P. of Morgan P. Talks, Morgan's Pop Talks podcast. She's such a reality TV queen, and she shares a great, juicy, sad, frustrating, amazing job rejection story on Thank You for Your Interest, my other podcast that's I'm just having so much fun doing. So check it out wherever you get podcasts, right here on this same app.
Yeah. We'll have it in the show notes so you can just click. So easy.
So easy. That's it.
I'm good.
Okay, great. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.